Xuan has been one of the most highly anticipated reruns for Honkai Star Rail, and it's finally almost here. So today, we're going to take a look at Xuan's kit, her banner, and her overall performance in the game to see whether or not she is still valuable enough for you to pull for her. So firstly, I want to start out with her kit. She does have a lot of very interesting things about her kit that have made her be as good as she has been throughout the entire game since she came out. So yeah, I'm showing on Pride Win, as I usually do, just so you all can see the maximum multipliers for everything. So, starting out with her basic attack, she just deals quantum damage to a single enemy, nothing too crazy there. You are going to be using it, every so often, or actually more often than her skill in a lot of situations, but, you're not really looking for damage from Xuan since she is mainly going to be a sustain. Then, with her skill, she's going to activate her Matrix of Prescience, which is probably the big part of her sustain and just her overall value in general, because there are going to be multiple benefits from this that we'll get into, both in the skill and also as part of her talent, and I believe some traces as well. So, when the Matrix of Prescience is up, whenever other team members get attacked, they will distribute 65% of the damage they took from that attack to Xuan, which is crazy because now you basically won't ever get one shot on any character, because Xuan is going to build a lot of HP, and then these characters bringing most of the damage to Xuan, she'll be able to tank that perfectly fine. Then also at trace level 10, when the Matrix of Prescience is up, which it has a duration of 3 turns, all allies will get a max HP increase by 6% of Xuan's max HP, which is already going to be pretty high because of the way she scales. So you are going to get a decent HP boost there, and then also they will get a 12% crit rate increase. And this is super nice for any DPS that scales off of crit, because now they're going to get 12 extra crit rate. So if your crit ratio is like slightly lacking in crit rate, she can definitely make up for it, or if you have a solid crit ratio, then you just get a little more consistency here, which is very good. And then of course, if Xuan is downed in the fight, then the Matrix of Prescience will go away. Then for ultimate, she will deal quantum damage to all enemies, and she'll obtain a trigger count for the HP restore effect by her talent, which we're going to get into right now. Other than the trigger count, the ultimate doesn't really get it doesn't give too much for you. But now moving on to her talent here, when Xuan is active in battle, she will have the Misfortune Avoidance effect applied to the entire team, and this will allow allies to have 18% damage reduction, which is very good just innately, just to have throughout the battle at any time. Then also when Xuan falls below half HP, she will trigger her HP restore, and it's going to restore her by 90% of the amount of HP that she's missing. And this is really good, once again, because since she is going to be taking a good portion of the damage from her allies, plus with her being preservation, she is having just the highest aggro value without considering aggro value like changing characters like Clara, for example, or March's Shields. So because of that, she's going to be getting hit a bunch and taking a lot of damage. So being able to have this healing effect here is going to allow her to have a lot more survivability. And that's, of course, just going to help you sustain better in the long run, since she is taking the brunt of the damage on any team that she's going to be on. But yeah, this effect here, it can't trigger if she receives a killing blow. So that is something to keep in mind. And you do have one trigger count at the start of battle, and it can hold up to a max of 2. And the only way you get these trigger counts back throughout battle is to use her ultimate. So that is definitely something to keep in mind as well. Then for her technique, in the overworld, any team member will receive a barrier lasting for 20 seconds, and this barrier basically makes it so that enemies cannot attack you to start battle. And whenever you enter battle with the barrier active, will automatically activate the Matrix of Prescience, and it's only going to last for 2 turns as opposed to 3. So you will have to, re-enable it rather quickly, but once you do that, it'll be on the usual cycle of being active for 3 turns. And it does have a visual cue as well to make sure that you know that the Matrix is about to run out, so that you can reapply it before it actually fully goes out. Now for her major traces. Firstly, when the Matrix is active, she's going to regain 20 extra energy, which is very good, so you can get that ultimate up so that you can get the extra trigger count for her self heal, which is very nice. Then for their second major trace, when she ults, she will heal all your other allies by an amount equal to 5% of her HP plus 133. So giving some extra, very small but nice team healing is also just going to be very good to, if one character gets hit a bunch, even though Fu Xuan is taking all the hits, it is nice to give them a bit of HP back as well. Then her last major trace, which I think is very big when it comes to her being preservation, if a target enemy applies a crowd control debuff while the matrix is active, all allies will resist crowd control debuffs during that current action. And this can only be triggered once per activation of the Matrix of Prescience. So if you get this debuff resist once, the next time you'll get it will be the next time you activate the Matrix of Prescience. So that is important to keep in mind, but this is still very good because if you play around this correctly, then you can very easily deal with the fact of Fu Xuan not being a cleanser. Then when we get to the minor stat traces, she does get some effect res, which is nice. She gets some crit rate, which I'm honestly not too sure why, because, I think some people have tried to run like a DPS kind of build, but it's not the greatest thing ever, and I honestly probably wouldn't recommend it. Then she gets some HP there, which is also very good for her build. Then to touch on Eidolons real quick, if you are a player as well that is thinking about getting more than one Fu Xuan copy, so E1, which I do actually have experience with because I did end up getting an E1 Fu Xuan, she gets a 30% crit damage value from her Matrix of Prescience's knowledge effect. And this is pretty huge too, because this is just an extra damage increase for any crit damage DPS. So this is just a very nice thing to have, and it's always going to be active as long as you have the Matrix active. Then for her E2, she basically gets a revive, kind of like Bailu's, but it's at a fixed value as opposed to or like a fixed percentage as opposed to a percentage of the user's HP. So whenever Fu Xuan gets a revive, which you can only do one time per battle, she will revive the character for 70% of their max HP. So this is pretty solid. Definitely a nice extra layer of security, which I doubt you'll see very often, maybe in like Golden Gears. But if your Fu Xuan is well built and your account's in a good spot, I honestly doubt you'll see this E2 very often, if at all. And then E3 just gives some extra scaling to her skill and talent, which honestly is super valuable because those are her two most important traces. So E3 is probably way more valuable than E5 there. Then E4, when other allies under the Matrix of Prescience are attacked, Fu Xuan gets some extra energy, which is also good just to get your ultimate up faster. Then E5 gets ultimate and basic attack scaling, which is not the craziest thing ever, but it is there. Then for her E6, once her Matrix is activated, it's going to keep a tally of the HP lost by all team members during the battle. And this is going to increase her Fu Xuan's ultimate damage by 200% of this tally. And it also does cap the tally at 120% of Fu Xuan's max HP. And once you use the ultimate, the count for that will reset, which I guess this is probably where people were thinking to use Fu Xuan as more of a sub DPS or DPS kind of character, but it probably still isn't worth it. I mean, if you have an E6 character at that point, you kind of just do whatever, because characters just get super strong at that point for limited 5 stars. But I do think overall, she does still have a lot of value in these Eidolons too. If you are either like a light spender or you're thinking about wailing for her, if it is within reason for you, she definitely does have some very solid Eidolons. But I do think that at least for light spender, E1 is perfect. So now to move on to Fu Xuan's rerun banner. She is going to have the same banner as Boot Hill, which is also an important thing to keep in mind when deciding which of them that you're going to go for. So starting out here, we have Pela on the banner, who is just an amazing debuffer that can work on a bunch of teams, just like Fu Xuan can work on a bunch of teams. So while they don't have any specific synergy together, it's not a bad idea to pick up some copies of Pela to just give her some extra benefits and extra value, because both her and Fu Xuan are going to be very versatile in the teams that they can work on. Then next up we have Luka, who is a great character for break teams and dot teams. He can get a lot of damage in with his bleeds and just re-triggering his own bleed damage on break with his enhancement on his basic attack. But because Boot Hill is also a, at least from what we can kind of tell from what we see from the live stream, since you don't have like full confirmation of stuff with his kit and what it scales off of, it seems like Boot Hill is going to have some value from breaking toughness as well. So it feels like Boot Hill will likely be a power creep for Luka, but Luka's still going to have value if you're not pulling for Boot Hill. Plus also, since Boot Hill's Hunt, he's not going to work on the dot team as great, so Luka will still have that value there if you are running a dot team and you're running it up against a physical weak enemy. And lastly for the banner, we have Hook, who is honestly a character that has very much fallen off, and I don't think it's ever really even been close to the top in terms of performance. So in a lot of situations, Hook is probably not going to be that valuable for you. But I guess if you're like a very new player and you don't have any DPSs and you're using Hook, like some extra Eidolons could be nice. But besides that, you're really just not going to get that much value from Hook, because I feel like there are just going to be better options in general. Plus for Fire Destruction, I know we are getting Firefly in 2.3 in a few weeks as well, which is definitely going to make Hook's value go down even more. So now, to answer the big question of the video, is Xuan's rerun still worth pulling for? And my answer to that is going to be yes in most situations, because Xuan is just a really comfortable sustain character. She is very SP efficient because since her Matrix of Prescience lasts for 3 turns, basically your rotation with her can be skill, basic, and just repeat that, and your Matrix should have 100% uptime, because it does visually show you when it's going to go away as well, so you can keep track of it that way. Now, she does also give the crit rate buff as well, which is a nice, little benefit, because she was the first of the sustain characters to have some, extra value outside of sustaining for her teammates. And that extra crit rate really just gives you a lot more team consistency, which I really do like about her. And crit rate is basically beneficial for most DPSs outside of like Dot. So she's going to be valuable on so many different teams. And I also do think that it is very good to have at least 2 5-star sustain characters. And I know a lot of players have just pulled Adventurine back in 2.1 as like their first really good 5-star sustain. So if you're looking for a second one to round out your second team so you can take on endgame content like Memory of Chaos, then Xuan is going to be an excellent choice for that. Now, the one situation where I would say, maybe hold off on getting Xuan is if you already are good on sustains, like you have Aventurine, you have Huo, if you have a Gallagher build, if you have Jeopardy, if you have a bunch of sustains already and your account is struggling in other areas like supports or DPS characters, then I would say it's probably better for you to pull for something that is going to fix those or work on those weaknesses on your account. Like if you're struggling for support, Robin's banner's still out for about a week, and then if you're looking for more like DPS, we have Boot Hill. And then in 2.3 we have Robin and we have Firefly and Jade coming out, who should both be DPS style characters since they are Destruction and Erudition. So yeah, the only time I'd probably say no is if you are struggling in other ways in your account than sustain. Like if your sustains are good, then I would say focus more on what you need for your account. But at the end of the day, pull for who you like. If you really do like Xuan and want to get her, then by all means go ahead. She is a very solid sustain character. And I'm sure she's going to stay good for a long time, especially with how it's been from her initial banner release up until this point. So yeah, that is overall my thoughts on Xuan. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if you're going to be pulling for her. If you enjoyed and haven't already, definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.